Hi and welcome to Positively Sparking, podcasts on internet marketing, online business, entrepreneurship and digital living. Today I'm with Kirly Sue, a vegan Jamaican cook whose unique recipes have taken her to TV appearances on both sides of the Atlantic. Sue passionately believes that a vegan diet is the healthiest way for us all to live. Her workshops, books and TV episodes all seek to show us that a transition to vegan can be way easier and way more fun than we initially imagined. So hi Kirly Sue, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. We were just chatting there before we set off the interview, and I was just saying I was actually in London yesterday, which is where you are.
I am, yes. I live in North London, not far from Central London.
Great. What a great city to be in. One of the world's greats.
It is so much going on, so much variety as well.
Absolutely. So, Kirly Sue, you're the first kind of nickname guest I've had. I like that. Tell us a bit about who you are and what you do for people that don't know you.
Well, my name is Kirly Sue. I'm a vegan cook, and I'm also a food writer. I have a column in Pride magazine. I'm a television presenter, and I'm also an author. I have several books on Amazon as well, and Kirly spelled Kirly, Kirly Sue, that way.
Wow, so very much a voice on vegan cooking there. And does all of that come from starting out as a chef and a cook?
No, actually not at all. I was a vegetarian before I became a vegan. I was a vegetarian for 20-something years. And what I found is, at the time, is a lot of the vegetarian recipes, I didn't really like them. And I couldn't find many books with recipes that I liked. So, as I was always kind of taught, if it's not there, then create it. So I started to write a cookbook and just started to put in some of my favorite recipes. And then as I went along, it started to develop from there, really. And I did my first book.
So you sound like someone who was born with the entrepreneur's mindset. If it's not there, go and create it.
I suppose so. Both my parents they're retired now, but both of my parents were business people. They had their own businesses. So I was always kind of brought up around business, I suppose.
A great kind of grounding. I don't know if you've ever heard of a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's quite an old book now.
Yes, I've read it. Yeah, Robert Kiyosaki, yeah.
That's the one. That's the one. And that very much gives us a great understanding of how the environment you grow up in affects how you look at business.
Absolutely, definitely.
So, Kirly Sue, a vegan cook, why do you believe people should consider a vegan diet?
Well, I think a vegan diet is very healthy. It's also good for the environment as well, because the amount of resources it takes to rear a cow is quite different to what it takes to grow fruit and vegetables. So it's much kinder to the planet. In addition to that, there's been many instances where people have had lots of health problems, and when they've switched out to a plant-based diet, it's just made huge differences to their health. I was watching a documentary type film called Forks Over Knives, and that was quite eye-opening. There was a guy on 26 different forms of medication, and when they switched him over to a plant-based diet, they managed to bring it down to, I think, 5 or 6.
Wow, that's just incredible, isn't it? 26 down to 5 or 6. So what do you believe made that happen? What is it about a vegan diet that allows that kind of radical transformation to happen?
I think there's been many studies about this, because one of the first books I read when I was researching about veganism was the China study by T. Colin Campbell. And the China study is a study that had been done over, I think it's a 20-year period, by a number of different researchers independently. So the China study is a collection of those different researchers that had been done. And what they were trying to find out is, why do people in rural parts of China have such great health compared to people who live in other parts of the world? And when they kept doing the research, everyone who'd done the research independently of each other came around to the same conclusion: plant-based diet. So there's just so much evidence to show it's a much healthier way to live, really. Now, I'm not saying that everyone must be vegan. I'm not an angry vegan. I just think that everyone should have the information and then they choose for themselves. There are people who are meat avoiders, people who don't eat much meat or fish, and that's good too. But I think everyone should have enough information so they can make an informed decision. I think a lot of the time people don't know much about veganism, so they're not really being given the opportunity to learn what other options are out there.
I think that's a great point. Our world is so set up for the systems and the ways of living that we currently have, isn't it? So
yes,
we walk down a high street and we see McDonald's and Burger King, and then what we consider to be healthier choices like Pret a Manger and Waitrose, whatever they may be. So it must be very hard for you to take people from that everyday world to considering a vegan diet. So how did you begin doing that? How did it all start?
Well, for me, I was a vegetarian and I thought, well, that's fine. And I used to think, well, veganism is too extreme. It's too restrictive. I mean, you're going to go into Sainsbury's and come out with a bottle of water and that's it. But I just kept hearing lots of different bits of information about veganism, and I decided to study and research it for myself. And then my aha moment is when I was watching Forks Over Knives and reading the China study, and they run these statistics in it. They quote these statistics in it that if you are a vegetarian and a meat eater, well, for example, firstly, if you're a meat eater, the amount of, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the exact figures, but if you're a meat eater, roughly 70% of what you eat will contain some kind of saturated fat. And if you're vegetarian, the figure is the same. But if you are vegan, that drops to something like 30%.
Wow.
So then I thought, so what I thought I was doing, I wasn't doing. Because remember, vegetarian, you're still having the dairy. So, yeah, so it makes a big difference. So there was that. So when I became a vegan and decided to start a vegan-based business, many people kept asking me the same question: how do I become a vegan? So I started to run a number of workshops, how to become a vegan. And I've just brought out a book on Amazon called Vegan Cooking Made Easy. It's a kind of a step-by-step guide. So if you think, right, I'm going to go vegan, I want to try it, what do I do? Where do I start? And it basically steps you through the whole thing on how to do it. Because at the end of the day, what people need is information, because they know what they're not supposed to do, but there sometimes isn't enough information on what you can do.
Absolutely. So you're giving people the system to go from this everyday world we have now to this new kind of diet.
Yes.
Wow.
Definitely.
So how was it for you going from being a vegetarian to a vegan?
It wasn't too difficult because when I was a vegetarian, I was a dairy avoider anyway, so I didn't really have much dairy. So when I made the switch, it wasn't that drastic of a change for me. So it was kind of easy, really. I did have to research because there are some kind of hidden ingredients of things that contain dairy that you wouldn't necessarily think so. Because, like, for example, some crisps have powdered milk in it. Why on earth they put powdered milk in it, I would never know. I don't know if it's a really cheap ingredient or something, but there's things like that you have to look into. But you get used to it because after a while, it's a bit like how you would shop anyway. You know, if I go into the shop, I know I'm going to get Heinz beans. I'm not going to get this ketchup, blah, blah, blah. So after a while, you know which brands are the ones that you will have that you can pick up that are vegan. Although you have to kind of keep watching the ingredients because they do change from time to time. Because the big hoo-ha in the vegan world is when Jammy Dodgers went from being the jam-filled biscuits went from being vegan, and they changed the recipe, and now it isn't. So everyone was really upset about that. Oreos are still vegan though.
Really?
Yes.
I never would have expected they would have been vegan.
The ones made in the UK, I don't know about the other countries. I think they are as well, but I know definitely the ones in the UK, they're vegan. They're just vegan by accident. I don't think they set out to make a vegan product at all. It's just how it worked out.
But I'm sure they use that in all kinds of marketing.
I think they use it in no kinds of marketing. Only the vegan community says that, because there's still a little bit of a stigma when you say it's vegan. People's faces drop and they look like they want to run to the hills, and if they're, oh no, it can't taste good.
Well, that point you make there is my next question. So when you're out there, and you are out there in all kinds of ways, on TV, publishing your books, your website, what is the key to opening people's eyes in a positive way? Because I can just imagine that. I can just imagine you talking to, a group of merchant bankers that were used to eating out every night in all kinds of fantastic restaurants, and you're trying to introduce them to a vegan diet. So how does that change happen for them?
Well, that's why I make vegan Jamaican food, because usually if you say vegan food, people say, But if you say vegan Jamaican, they go, oh, that sounds interesting. It's a completely different. They're like, right, what does that consist of? I want to taste it.
So I have a great friend up in Leeds who's a Jamaican guy. So he introduced me to jerk chicken and curry goat and all these things. And when we put those two words together, that was one of the things that really intrigued me about having an interview with you. Vegan Jamaican.
Yes.
They seem so far away.
They're not that far, really. For some cultures, if you said vegan in some other country, you'd think, well, you're going to be eating what? But for Jamaican, it's not so far, because in Jamaica, we have a group of people called the Rastafarians, the Rastas, and they are vegan. And obviously they're eating Jamaican food. Also, Jamaican people do eat meat and fish, but we do eat a lot of vegetables and fruits and stuff like that as well. So there's lots of dishes that are naturally vegan, but there's also dishes that are quite easy to make vegan. For example, my favorite Jamaican dish is stewed peas and rice. Now, peas, that we call them in Jamaica peas, but here they're actually called kidney beans. So it's those cooked in spices and coconut milk. That traditionally is made with pork. But if you do the exact same recipe and just skip out the meat, no one misses it.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So that's a great kind of point to start, isn't it? And
yes, veganizing dishes.
Definitely. Yes. Do you think that Jamaican food is associated with fun and good times helps your cause? Because vegan is a word which, as you said before, people screw their face up and think, oh no, all the fun out of eating has disappeared. Mm-hmm. But when you add on that Jamaican element, you have two ideas that people are used to. One is not so fun, and one is a lot of fun. Does that help?
Yeah, because people immediately think of bold flavors, fun, exciting, something, I want to try this out and so forth as well. So yes, definitely people associate that with something positive when it comes to food.
Great. What are the main objections that you have to overcome?
I think my main objections are people who kind of want to become a vegan, but they haven't quite got the mindset right. Because at the end of the day, you have to make up your mind that you want to do it. So when they kind of half made up their mind, that's kind of a bit of a challenge for me. So they'll come to me and say, I want to become a vegan. What do I do? So that is a bit of a challenge. And I have to say to them, well, I'm happy to help you, but it comes down to you. I can't make you do something, and I'm not here to make you. It's for you to decide. And then when you're ready, so perhaps you're not ready yet, then, come to me and I can help you. And I said, even so, if you're not ready yet, I can give you some recipes to start off with. People have to be willing to try, because sometimes you look at a dish and you think, oh no, that's not going to taste good. But you actually don't know that for sure until you put it in your mouth. So it's kind of helping people to be a little more open sometimes. I mean, sometimes I can understand there are some ingredients that people just don't like, and that's it. But it's being willing to try.